Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. Before this video starts, please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider liking the video, really helps out a lot. Thank you so much for 1,735 subscribers, really means a lot. I'll be making a appreciation video sometime soon. So stay tuned for that, but today's video is going to be relatively short. I think, at least at this point, I think it's going to be under 10 minutes. However, it might extend a little bit over. And today is going to be about the potential for some severe weather across the Dakotas tomorrow. And that could leave mainly not a tornado threat or even not even a damaging wind threat. Those two are definitely still possible. However, the most likely that is going to be the most costly damaging factor is the hail. The hail is going to be large, significant, damaging up to softball-sized hail. These supercells aren't really going to be conducive to form tornadoes because there won't be enough spin. The winds will be going in fairly similar directions, so there won't be enough spin to create those funnel clouds. However, hail, there's going to be enough of an updraft going up into the thunderstorm that it could create some softball-sized hail, which definitely is still as dangerous as a tornado and could leave even sometimes more damage since it could be even more widespread. And it could just damage basically anything in its path, like hail. So, a house, a car, siding, anything. So, this is basically right now surface-based CAPE, and that is basically the measure of cap, and the more, this is basically just energy. You can see joules per I think that's kilogram, and that is just amount of energy that the thunderstorms will have. The brighter the colors, the more energy you could see today. This is actually tomorrow also. A lot of threat, some threat in the in Arkansas, Oklahoma area. And you can see that GFS does a pretty good job of pointing this out. Again, this shows Friday 00Z, but the GFS is a little bit ahead always, so when it shows this is around Thursday afternoon, and you can see these colors are getting pretty dark, almost auburn sort of color, and that is almost 5,000, and that is a really high measurement. In order to get a severe thunderstorm, usually you need around at least 3,000, but once it reaches 5,000, according to the GFS, it's going to be 5,000, which it may not be true, but that is still very high measurement, and that just goes to show you that there's plenty of energy in the atmosphere to create big thunderstorms. And this definitely needs to be taken seriously. If you're wondering what area am I specifically talking about, because you can see there's orange basically all over the map. The area that we're most concerned for is this area that you can see in this enhanced. And those are actually, there's a couple of large cities in that area, like Bismarck, North Dakota, Minot, North Dakota, Dickinson, North Dakota. All those cities, you can see they're right here. All those cities are fairly large cities, and in that little area up to 300,000 people are living, so definitely could cause a lot of damage. I know it may seem like North Dakota isn't really much populated, but it really depends on where this lies out. If it lies over populated areas, then this could be much more damaging. And there's also going to be a slight risk, which is marked in a yellow, which is not nearly as, just basically shows you not nearly as conducive to making severe thunderstorms as an enhanced one, but still up to 800,000 people are going to be living in that area. And then the marginal, which isn't this green, it's the darker green, which is just basically barely, some thunderstorms could reach severe, but most of them will just stay below the severe level, and over 1 million people live in that area. But again, the most area that we're concerned about is North Dakota, central North Dakota, and parts of northern South Dakota. So this is definitely something we will need to watch. And now I want to show you guys, I showed you the energy with the thunderstorms, so now I want to go to NAM 3KM Con US, and let's go to significant tornado parameter, which basically shows you the likelihood of a tornado. It goes from 0 to 8.5, 8.5 being very likely for a tornado to happen given a certain radius. And you can see that there isn't really much of a threat for today. There's some like grays, almost some yellows, which is fairly low, 20, maybe like 10-20%, not even. I would say something close to 5. But then as we get into tomorrow, you can see that some of these colors start lighting up, and you can start seeing some of these purples, those dark purples right there. And that is right there, let me tell you, that's around 5. So that's something close to 40, 50, 30, 30 between 50% chance of a tornado in a certain mile of radius. So wherever you live, say in this area, you have a 50, 40, 30% chance of a tornado. And it does seem to die off overnight significantly, and then it could respawn a little bit the next day. You could see some isolated areas, but I think the main threat is going to be tomorrow. You could see a lot of North Dakota and South Dakota are going to be in this, so quite a good. I think there's going to be a chance for a ground touching or make landfall if you the land, but it will be a touchdown, I think, with a tornado. I think there will be a couple of tornadoes that can form. If you're wondering how the actual radar will look, since you just don't want to look at this stuff, I understand this can be sometimes confusing, but I will show you that. So let's go to reflectivity. This basically shows you the radar, how it's going to look. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, so let's go to regional. Let's zoom in on the north central U.S. Let's zoom out a little bit so we could have this all in one picture. You can see this is today, some thunderstorms, and if you were to look at the radar, this is fairly accurate. In this location, there are some thunderstorms developing, and this could further develop into a small mesoscale cluster of thunderstorms, which aren't going to be, I don't think they're going to, maybe a couple are going to reach severe status, but mostly the main threat is heavy downpours for today. However, you can see it sort of diminishes overnight. A couple of thunderstorms respawn, but this is where the threat really starts ramping up. I mean, you can see that there's this one cluster in Iowa that's just ramping it up, and then these cells just come out of nowhere, and these are isolated thunderstorms which are big, which just you look at this, and if you know what a supercell is, you could just tell right off the bat that these are supercells, and they're gonna have a lot of rotation in them. However, that's not necessarily gonna lead to tornadoes, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main supercells coming out, just basically the front range of the Rockies right here, and it's basically a line from South Dakota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. And you keep moving forward, you can see these produce a lot. These died down here, but this one just keeps going, keeps producing into some larger, what am I saying? Some larger clusters, and it could eventually lead to, again, hail, damaging winds. But the main threat is going to be hail. You can see that goes through fairly quickly, but the damage is done. It could take a couple of minutes, and it could be billions or millions of dollars in damage. If you're living in the Midwest, let's go check on the Midwest regionally. You could see that it's a little bit further to the east. The thunderstorms pass through. There's this cluster that we'll need to watch tomorrow for some of the areas in the Midwest, but does seem to die before it reaches the Mississippi River. And then another thunderstorm cluster seems to respawn, and this one could lead to some heavier rain. You could see northwestern Illinois, southeastern Wisconsin, but how accurate is this exactly here? We don't know. We know that this one right in the northern Dakotas, not the North Dakota and South Dakota, that part of the reflectivity is most likely accurate because most of the models are agreeing on that. However, not all models are agreeing on this little cluster right here that I just showed you, developing on Friday afternoon. So I think that it might, especially since we're gonna be having hot temperatures, which really heat up the atmosphere and lead to instability, which instability leads to perfect just conditions for thunderstorms to erupt, shake up, and that is definitely a likely possibility, but the National Weather Service hasn't mentioned anything about it, so we're not sure yet. However, I do think that definitely the thunderstorms in the South Dakota area, North Dakota area are definitely going to be likely to be severe, and we need to watch it. I don't think I'll make another update video on that due to the fact that it's just happening in such a short time. I really don't want to be spamming you guys with videos, so I'll just make one video today warning about it. Keep your eyes to the radar, check National Weather Service, check the warnings. The radar really helps out a lot for your own safety. So now I want to show you the actual. You can see right there it shows GFS 2-meter air temperature, and oops, let's go here. You can see very warm temperatures, 70s up into the Canada Maritimes, so this is very warm, and this is just sorry, I meant to say Canada Maritimes are further to the east, but you can see 80s. This is going to be a mini heat wave across the country because the GFS is underestimating it a little bit, but I know that Sunday we're going to be here around 97, and it could be up into the hundreds even. So you can see just this dome of hot air. It's just a high sitting right here, spinning this air around, making it hot, and it eventually will subside, but not after, you know, producing a lot of heat in the Midwest. But still, the South will be baking in the heat, and the California will definitely start getting in on this. It does seem to be later on in the future. This is this is a week in advance, I think. You can see that this would be really hot for California, and I'm not sure if this is gonna exactly happen, but there could be potential heat wave coming to the west, and that's not necessarily good. But definitely warm temperatures across the west, it seems. But it doesn't. If you go to the 2-meter anomaly, which basically shows you where the temperatures are going to be above or below average at a certain time at a certain place. Let's go all the way back to our 06. You can see this is your day, 18 o'clock, which is something close to I would say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is June 13th, 2018. So this is today. You can see anywhere you see the blue, slightly below average in the plains, but the northern plains above average, and the west is way above average. And that seems to be the story. You could see a couple of days in the west could turn colder, but that turns into the heat wave in the east. So it's always this flip back around. If the west is cooler, then the east is going to be warmer. You can see the east is baking, and now the east is starting to cool off, and the temperatures are turning back into the mountains, turning hot. And generally, it seems to be fairly on average for much of the country, other than the southeast, the south, and the west. They seem to be. It's basically like I said in my forecast outlook. Remember how if you want to check that out, I'll post a card to it right now here. It's basically a outlook which shows you that where I'm drawing this grid across south of those areas is going to be the warmest, and it seems to be playing out the most accurate. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider liking the video. And as always, see you guys in the next episode.